A full-size electronic drum set on a sailboat? Good God, man. Have I gone mad? Well, not exactly full-size. As far as electronic drums goes, they're kind of on the smaller size. So there are a lot bigger electronic drum sets out there, but these drums are kind of small and compact. And they come with a snare drum and a bass drum pedal with an actual real bass drum pedal, chain drive, and it's upright. So the striker strikes the pad at 90 degrees, upright like this. So you get real good articulation with it. Has electronic hi-hat with the pedal. The pedal's not attached to the hi-hat. There's not two cymbals. It's only one cymbal. It doesn't move. But the pedal controls whether the hi-hat is open, closed, and you can hit it open like it's just like a cymbal, or you can close it and tap it with the stick, or you can just get the same sound as if you're not touching it with a stick, but just using the pedal. It also has a half open setting on the pedal where when you strike the cymbal and you hold the pedal halfway down, it sounds like the hi-hat's only halfway open, which is a different sound. So it sounds pretty good. Now this drum set comes with a rack made out of aluminum tubing. And so this is, and I think the bags are kind of color coded, so it helps you to figure out how to put it together. And because I'm on a sailboat and I don't have a lot of room in here, I'm not going to be able to use this rack at all. So, but at any rate, this is parts of it here. These are the legs. There's, I think, 4 legs, and they all connect together. There's a bunch of connectors for it. And they have these orange bags, and then they have clear bags. And I think that's just to help you figure out what parts are what. So when you go to put the rack together, and this is in the clear bag. I think it came in the clear bag. I've already opened this up, been through it. So then there's, it has these part of the rack for cymbals, and they have the cymbals connect into the side here, and you can, so they're fully adjustable. You can adjust them to any angle you want them at. So I know this is crazy, but I majored in music in community college. No big deal. Music degree ain't going to get you far unless you get like a master's degree in music. You could teach college level music, which would have been an awesome job. I would have loved to have done that, but you know, my life went in other directions, and so I majored in music in community college and minored in ping pong. And I was a pretty damn good ping pong player too, by the way. But I haven't played in a long time, so I don't know about now. So, any rate, so this drum set is an Alesis Nitro Max. It's their newest set. They have an older set called the Nitro Mesh. And the reason for mesh is that all of the drum heads have mesh heads. And so this is the snare drum. Now the Nitro Mesh set had 8-inch diameter mesh pad for the snare drum, and all the tom-toms are also 8-inch mesh heads. The new Nitro Max, which is this unit, they increase the size of the snare drum to make it more realistic. So it comes with a 10-inch mesh head, and they have 2 colors that you can choose from. So they have, instead of red, they have a set that's black. And then on the side here, there's like a red swirl in this gap here, which looks like an old traditional drum set, which looks kind of cool. And then the heads are white. So it's got, they're black drums with white drum heads, which the white looks more realistic. But I went with red because for a couple of reasons. One, the red looks really cool. It reminds me of Christmas time, kind of. And but I chose the black mesh heads because I was worried the white ones might get dirty and kind of start looking dirty. And so this is a 2-zone snare drum. So the mesh head, so this is like fabric. And so you get bounce back on your drumstick. So it's very realistic. A lot of electronic drum kits in the past had rubber heads, and so they weren't as bouncy, but the drumstick really bounces off of these. Also, the rim also has a sensor. So you can do rim shots where you strike the head and the rim at the same time. And so if you ever play drums, you know what a rim shot is, and it gives it a real sharp, loud sound when you do that. You have to hit the rim and the snare drum at the same time. But it does do a really good rim shot. And then also you can do side stick where you lay your drumstick across and tap the rim, so you get that tick, tick, tick sound if you want that. So that's the snare drum. And the thing about this, like I said, this electronic drum set, it's smaller than most electronic drum sets. It is on the small side, and so which is nice for me. So it'll, try to get it to fit in here. I can't use that rack at all because I don't have room for it. I would have room if I took the table out of my main cabin and I could set it up, but I don't want to do that because I use that table a lot. And so I come up with an idea on how to deal with that, and I'll show you here in a minute. But I want to continue on showing the drums here and what's in the kit. So one snare drum, you get 3 tom-toms, and the tom-toms, so the tom-toms are 8-inch diameter, and they don't have a rim like the snare drum has the black rim on it, but this doesn't. And so I've been watching people on YouTube talking about these, and they were wondering, why didn't they put the rim on these? The Nitro Mesh set has rims on all of the tom-toms, but they don't have sensors in them, so they're just more like for looks. So because the diameter is so small, they probably took the rim off because it's kind of in the way. And since it doesn't have a sensor, you can't really do rim shots with it, with this drum. But I did discover something about not having a rim on here that's really cool. And I don't know if they intentionally did this for that reason. But what's really cool about not having a rim on here is now you can use these as hand drums, like conga drums or bongos or whatever. And I know a lot of music software, you have drum sounds on your software and all these different drum kits, and a lot of them come with conga drums and bongos and all different kinds of drums. But you can use them as a hand drum. With a rim on there, you couldn't do that. They are pressure sensitive, so they have dynamics. So the harder you strike the pad, the louder the sound comes out. So that's kind of a cool thing. And so you could set just the tom-toms up maybe for some conga drums or just hand drums that you want to use. So what they do have is these. Now some of the rack parts I am using here because I had to come up with an idea on how to make this work in here. And so the thing, I know this is kind of crazy for my channel being about sailing and sailboats, but sailors throughout the centuries brought their musical instruments on trips, and they needed entertainment. So matter of fact, I believe that where ukuleles came from was the Portuguese have this stringed instrument. It's like a little tiny guitar with 4 strings, and they have metal strings on them, and they're called cavaquinos. So I think they were, I'm assuming, the first Europeans to sail to Hawaii, probably in the 1500s, and they, I'm sure, brought their musical instruments with them. And I think what happened was the Hawaiians saw this this instrument, the cavaquinho, and made their own version, which is now the ukulele. So, but really the only difference is like modern day ukuleles use nylon strings. And of course, cavaquinos don't use nylon strings, they use metal strings, so steel strings. And so they have a brighter sound. And their cavaquinho is a very popular instrument in Brazil. So if you're into Brazilian music, which I absolutely love Brazilian music, you'll hear a lot of cavaquinho stuff in Brazilian music. And so that's kind of why I'm doing this video. I damaged my hearing about, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago. I don't actually know exactly what happened. I have a theory. I had earbuds in, and someone was talking to me, and I pulled one earbud out, and I accidentally bumped the volume up on this one, and it was blasting really loud, and I left it in without pulling it out. And I'm not sure if that's what happened, but I have lost high frequencies in this ear. And because I was into music, now I can't, it makes it very difficult for me to mix, because I can hear good in this ear, but not so good on the high frequencies in this ear. So around 4,000 hertz up to around 6,000, I can't really hear much. So I can't hear like little birds chirping. I can't hear some cymbals, sleigh bells. You know, Christmas music, you hear sleigh bells. I love sleigh bells. I think they sound awesome. But I can't really hear them in this ear, and it really sucks because I can't mix now it's difficult for me to mix. And it was strange because when I had that earbud in, I remember waking up one morning, this is when I was living on my other boat, and this ear was ringing really bad. And I'm thinking, yeah, I get ringing in my ears every once in a while. It goes away, no big deal. And but it was ringing in this left ear, and it was really, really bad. And so I was sitting there as I'm waking up thinking, what did I do? Was I around any loud noise? And I'm thinking, well, I had that earbud in, but I couldn't remember when it was. And it seemed like it was several weeks earlier that I had that earbud in, where I blasted, you know, the sound really loud in this ear. And I'm thinking, well, if you damage your hearing from loud sounds, it's going to happen immediately. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to be a delayed reaction for weeks, several weeks. Another theory is that there's a thing called spontaneous hearing loss, and it could be that, and it's where your immune system attacks, I think, basically attacks the hair cells in your cochlea, and it could maybe be that. I did go to an audiologist, and I told her that I can't hear between 4,000 and 6,000 hertz. I already tested it myself, and I believe I have cochlear damage. And so she went ahead and tested it on me, and she said, yeah, you're right. It's 4,000 to 6,000. And yeah, you have cochlear damage, which is non-repairable. There's nothing anyone can do about it. And so basically, as far as I know, unless something happens where they come up with something, they were doing genetic engineering or stem cell research on having the hair cells in the cochlea grow back, and they had success with mice, and they were able to get the hair cells to grow back, and the mice got their hearing back. So they tried a trial with humans, and they were really worried about it because the cochlea also is how you get your balance, and so they were really worried with this research that if they did this with humans, that it might cause dizziness permanently, vertigo. And I couldn't imagine, you know, I suffered from migraine headaches, and I used to get them so bad that I get really dizzy. And I couldn't imagine living the rest of my life feeling like that. I mean, it'd be awful. So they went ahead and did the research on, I can't remember how many patients. There were several. I know over at least 100, I think, that they used in a trial. And unfortunately, as far as I know to this point, one guy said he did think he was experiencing a little bit better hearing, but not really substantial. And last I heard, they stopped the research project. So at any rate, so I have really loud tinnitus, but so I got ringing in this ear that never stops. And it's like it's like a hissing sound. It's like white noise. And it's like this sound. Shh. And it's loud. And it never goes away. Fortunately, I can go to sleep. There's people that have this and they have a hard time sleeping. Luckily, I can sleep. So when this happened, you know, I was really into music, and at that point, I just said, screw it. My music days are over. I never really did it as a profession. I played a few gigs, and mainly I was into recording. I love recording. I studied recording engineering, and I used to have when I was real young, I had an analog recording studio with a bunch of reel-to-reel tape machines, so at any rate, I pretty much just gave up on music. Occasionally, I'll get my guitar out and play it, just so I don't forget the songs that I've written over the years. And I really need to get those songs recorded so I don't forget them. And but I just lately been telling myself, screw it, just get back into it. You know, I pick up my guitar and I start playing it, and it's just like, you know, something's been missing in my life, and that's it. And so, because I used to live, eat, and breathe music every day. It's pretty much all I think about. That and sailing and whitewater rafting and stuff like that. I do oil paintings and art. And so those were the things I love to do in my life. And so I had drum pads, electronic rubber drum pads, these little units that have like 6 or 8 pads, and they were okay. I could use those and get back into it, but I don't know. But so I saw this set. I just happened across it on somewhere, I think on YouTube, and I saw this specific set, this new set out of the Nitro Max set, and I couldn't believe it. And normally I wouldn't have bought it, but the price is just incredible. $399 for this entire set. So it comes with the bass drum, like I said, with the upright pad, and the striker strikes at 90 degrees. So it's very articulate with a real drum pedal. And you can switch out any drum pedal you want on it. So you can, any real drum pedal you want to buy, different manufacturers you can put on there. Comes with a hi-hat pedal, a hi-hat cymbal, 3 tom-toms, snare drum, and 2 cymbals. It has a ride cymbal and a crash cymbal. So in order to make this work, I'm using the table in my main cabin, which is right over here. I'm sitting at my dinette in the galley right now. And so I'm thinking, well, there's got to be some way I can do this. I know I can make this work. So I noticed that because of this attachment here that attaches to the rack, I noticed that I could sit this drum down, and it sits pretty much at an angle like a tom-tom would sit on a drum set, just sitting on the table. And so I started playing with my drumsticks, and it was stable. It didn't really move, and the table I have, it was able to, because of the way it's built, it would sit just like that, perfect, and I could play on it. It was pretty stable, it wouldn't really move. And so this connects into the rack, and then you slide the drums on here, and this is how they connect to the rack. Like that. And you can adjust them, and they turn this way, so you can adjust them however you want. You can adjust them this way too. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, it'd be nice because I have, you know, 2 wing toms. Drums usually have 2 wing toms. So I decided that I'm going to hook these together like this, using the same mount here. And so I'm going to just run it through here, and run it through here, and then I just flip it over and tighten both these down. And now they're connected together. So this makes it really convenient. When I set these up, I set them on this table. And if I'm not going to use them, I want to take them down and store them. Well, I could take them all apart and stack them and store them that way, but I can also store them like this. And so this makes it easier to set up, less work. I mean, I just pull it out, set it up. Now it sets like that. So they're a little bit higher up. The angle's a little different. But again, they're very stable, and I've been testing them out on my table, and they don't move the table I have set up. It just works perfect. So that's it for the wing toms. Now, it also has one floor tom. So it has, let's go back over this again. One bass drum, one snare drum, 2 wing toms, 1 floor tom, 1 hi-hat, and 1 crash cymbal, and 1 ride cymbal. Okay, so that took care of the wing toms. Now, what about the cymbals? Well, I can't just set the cymbal flat on the table, and because here's one of the cymbals, and they're all the same, except I did buy an extra cymbal and an extra tom-tom because I wanted 2 floor toms and 2 crash cymbals. And so they have the Nitro Mesh kit, which is the older one. They still make that kit, and they have an upgrade where you can buy it's all in one box. It's an extra cymbal and an extra tom-tom with the mounting hardware. All comes in the box. $59. I mean, wow, it's just this stuff is so inexpensive, it's unbelievable. Now, I can't just set this on the table. I mean, I could. And I was doing this before, and it rocks around a little bit, but it's not the right height. I need to be able to adjust the heights of the cymbals. I need to be able to move them where I want to put them. So I come up with an idea. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. And so I have this camera tripod, and I got this little tiny camera tripod. I've had it for a while, and it's really cool. Very adjustable. The legs extend out. This part goes up and down. Let's see, turn it like this. So you can adjust this up and down. And the head's totally adjustable, like this. And so I'm thinking, wow, is there some way I could mount the cymbals on here? Well, I came up with an idea. The cymbals also have mounting hardware with a wing nut on top. And then it's got this this solid rod that's got splines in it. And so it connects into one of the mounting rack parts, and then you can clamp it down. So I come up with an idea. What if I take the head off of here, and then what I do is I take that off, and then there's this tube part that goes up and down. And what if I use that tube part and just flip it upside down and put it back in here, because it has a hole in the top. So that's what I did. So now I removed the head, and I took the middle tube here and I flipped it upside down. And so it's just a hollow tube, but it has a bottom in it. So what I do now is I just take this and I set it inside, just like that. And there you go. And there's the cymbal stand. And I can adjust the height with the legs or with this tube here in the center. And if I have an uneven surface, I can have one leg go down a little farther, or, this one, because I do kind of set it off on one side of my table, which kind of goes over where my wood stove is. And I kind of set it up on this edge just to get the cymbal spaced where I need it, the ride cymbal, basically. So that's it, and it works really good. Let me grab a drumstick and I'll show you. And this will give you some idea just how stable this is. I mean, I can pound the crap out of this thing. And it's real stable. It's not going to go anywhere. So it stays put. It works great, and I can adjust it. And the cool part is, I set my drums up on the table. I can move the cymbals around right to where I want them. Any position, farther out, in, closer, you know, whatever I want. Up, higher, lower, works perfect. So I got a bunch of these tripods, one for each cymbal. So I got one like here, and I got another one over here. So each cymbal has its own tripod. Now, when I bought the extra cymbal and the extra tom-tom, they're from the older kit, and they, like I said, they still make them. They sell that upgrade. Now, if you buy the Nitro Max upgrade, they also have an extra tom-tom and an extra cymbal. They're $99, and I don't understand why. They're the newer kit, so they're charging more. But the older kit, the Nitro Mesh kit, they're only $59 for the tom-tom and the extra cymbal. Now, a lot of people are saying that the cymbals and the tom-toms are pretty much the same. Well, there's a difference. Actually, the old Nitro Mesh cymbals are thicker, and the Nitro Max cymbals are a little thinner. So the plastic's a little thicker. This is the Nitro Mesh. And they come with the cymbals in the Nitro Max kit. It comes with one crash cymbal and one ride cymbal. And the crash cymbal is a one-zone cymbal, so it only has one sensor. So you hit it, it's just going to have the same sound come out. Now you can change the sounds of any drum sets you want. So you can have different types of hi-hats, or I can make this, instead of a crash cymbal, I can make it a ride cymbal, I can make it a cowbell, I can make it another drum if I wanted to. And now you can do that if you're connecting, because it has USB that you can connect to your computer. And if you have drum software in your computer, you can do that. They also, but the Nitro, okay, so in the Nitro Max, they give you one cymbal that's single zone. They also give the second cymbal is a dual zone. So the reason for the two zone cymbal is that, okay, let me go back. On the ride cymbal, it's not two zone that does this. Okay, so on the ride cymbal, if you strike it, because of the sound in the system, in the software system, the actual drum sound, the cymbal sound, the ride sound, if you strike the pad at a certain hardness, then it sounds like just playing a ride cymbal normally. If you strike it really hard, the dynamics goes higher. It gives you that bell sound, like you're hitting it up here on the bell. So that's how that works. So you got to hit the ride cymbal really hard to get that bell sound, but it does work. I find that if I turn the stick around and hit it with this end for the bell sound, it works really good. It's kind of hard to get it to work with this end. The ride cymbal was a single zone cymbal. The crash cymbal was a dual zone cymbal. And the crash cymbal, and the reason, so it has two sensors. And the reason for that is that there's a sensor right on the edge here, underneath. And it goes right along. So the black part here is what you strike. This red part you don't. So the black part faces you. So with the two zone, double zone, two zone, dual zone cymbal, you hit the crash cymbal like that. But you can also choke the cymbal. So this is what the other sensor is on the edge, as you can go, and you hit a cymbal, it goes, right? But you can also choke it. You can do this, and grab it with your hand and stop it from ringing, just like a real cymbal. And so what I did was, when I bought the upgrade, I went ahead and bought the upgrade Nitro Mesh with the extra cymbal and the extra tom-tom. And I also bought another used Nitro Mesh cymbal that was dual zone. The Nitro Mesh kit, I think all the cymbals are dual zone, so that you can choke all of them. And so, so now one of the cymbals, that single zone, I don't use at all. I because of the inputs on the control unit, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it's maxed out. Now I got other MIDI gear I can connect that cymbal to and make it work going into my system. But the hi-hat now, that the cymbal for the hi-hat is a single zone. I don't know that, I can't think that I've ever seen a drummer choke a hi-hat, but you can. But I don't know if it'd be that common a thing. I could always get another dual zone cymbal so I could do that if I wanted to, but I don't really see a need for that. And so now I want to show you the two tom-toms now that I got set up. So I set them up the same way. I got them connected together, just like the other. Now, the Nitro Mesh, the older kit, all has these rims on them, and so this is the Nitro Max tom-tom. This is the Nitro Mesh tom-tom with the rim. And again, the rim on this doesn't have a sensor in it, so it's just these are both single zone. You just hit the pads, and that's the sound that you get. Now, if I got an old Nitro Max snare drum, their snare drum's only 8" in diameter. So if I bought one of those, the rim does have a sensor for doing rim shots and side stick. And that'd been kind of nice to get one of those, because sometimes when you're playing, the tom-toms sit on the floor toms sit on the floor. They're the big drums that sit on the floor off to the right side of the drummer. And so you do side stick on the snare drum, you know, it's normal, but you also can do side stick on a floor tom. And that would have been cool to have that happen, but this one unfortunately does not have the sensor. So you can see the difference between the two. They're the same diameter, except this one just has the black rim on it. And so these are my floor toms, and I got them connected together the same way, same hardware. And this just sits right on the settee, the cushion, the couch that I sit on. This sits right there. I don't have to hook them to anything. I can move them around, and they're right there. Perfect. Works great. So now, the control unit. And this is it. This is the Nitro Max control unit. And this is where all your drums wire into. So it has a what are these things called? Like RS262 or 282 or whatever they are. They're old, like, fashion printer connectors with a lot of pins. So it plugs into here, and it has a whole bunch of wires coming out. And the wires are all 1/4 inch, this type of wires. So TSR. And that's what plugs into the cymbals and the drums. And then the other end has got this connector here, multi-pin. So it makes it real easy to connect to this unit. You don't have a whole bunch of connectors on here with a bunch of wires. You do, it's just coming off. It's more compact because it connects here. Then they give you 2 more connectors for 2 extra drums. So one is for an extra tom-tom, which I use for my floor tom, for the deep, low, big floor tom. And then an extra crash cymbal input. And this has drum sounds in it. Now, the drum sounds in the older unit, the Nitro Mesh, I've never played one, but I see people on YouTube saying, nah, they didn't sound that great. But this unit, they included software from a company that makes this drum software called BFD. And no, it's not what you're thinking. It stands for Big Fat Drums. And so, at any rate, this is the control head, and it's got BFD drum samples in here. They're more than just a sample; they're actual drum models. So, BFD drums sound incredibly good. They're like the best drums. They have like every kind of drum out there. So whatever drums that you know are out there on the market, like Gretsch or Pearl or Rogers, you know, or DW, they have samples of all those drums, and they're recorded in the best recording studios using the best microphones, and so the quality is just unbelievable. You can't tell the difference when you listen to a song, you know, on someone's song that came out, that you can't really tell if that's an acoustic set in the studio or electronic. It's pretty much, I would challenge pretty much any engineer or producer to tell me just by listening, is that a real drum set, you know, acoustic drum set with microphones, or is that electronic drum set? You'd probably be able to tell by the room acoustics, but again, these drums are recorded in a real recording studio, so yeah, I think it'd be pretty hard to tell the difference, pretty much impossible. And so they sound really, really good, just incredible. And this unit, I think there's like 64 or something like that kits, different drum kits, so different drum manufacturer kits that you can choose from. You can just scroll through them. And now if you have the software, it does come with the software, BFD software that you can put on your computer, and it's a light version, it's not the full version, and it's free, it comes free with this. And so you can download that, and with that, when you have the actual drum software on your computer, you can pick each drum pad to be a different drum from a different manufacturer if you want. Same thing with the cymbals and everything. And so it has that, and then it has, what's it called? Drummery. It's learning software. That's also free. So it's like a 90-day trial. I haven't tried it out yet, but everyone says it's really good. If you want to learn how to play drums, that's a good way to do it, because I think what they do is they have some of the best drummers in the world give lessons on this. It's online. So it has that comes with it. And then it has a bunch of practice songs that you can, when you have your headphones on. And that's another thing that's so nice about electronic drums. When I was a kid, I really wanted drums when I was a little kid. And I kept asking my parents at Christmas time, can I get some drums? Can I have drums for Christmas? So I kept asking my parents every Christmas, can I have some drums for Christmas? And they didn't want me to have drums, and I'm sure you know why. Because they're real loud and obnoxious, especially if you're not good at playing them. And so my dad finally broke down. He was actually a band leader in his younger days. He was a saxophone player. And so he bought me this plastic snare drum. I remember waking up for Christmas, and it's like, I see the snare drum, I'm all excited. It's like, where's the rest of the set, you know? And but that's all he got me, was just the snare drum. And he says, we'll see how you do on that, and if you get good at it, maybe in the future we'll buy you a whole set. And so it was kind of okay, but it's not like a full set of drums, so I wasn't super interested. I mean, I played with it until one of the brat kids in the neighborhood took it and threw it up in the air out inside, and it crashed down on the street and broke into a million pieces, and I wanted to strangle him, but he was a lot bigger than me. And so that was the end of that. And but so the nice thing about electronic drums is that you can play them with headphones, and they don't really make any noise except for the bass drum. A beater hitting the pad, it's kind of like the sound you're hearing here, like my elbow on the table, and it does make noise. If you're in a regular house and you're in a bedroom, you're not going to probably bother anybody. You could probably be up at 3 in the morning playing, unless someone's sleeping in the room right next to you. They may hear it, but odds are probably not. Where I hear people complaining is if you're in an apartment, and if you're in an upper apartment, and people in the lower apartment will pound on the ceiling and tell you to shut up because of that sound like that, you know, with the drum beater. But other than that, I mean, the cymbals, you know, that's about as loud as they get. The drum heads are, you know, that's not very loud. And so, yeah, so you really don't really bother anybody. And so that's one of the really good things about electronic drums. At any rate, so yeah, you can listen it has these practice songs that are pretty cool. Some of them are a little kind of hokey, but it gives you all these different genres of music that you can play along with. And what's cool is, so it's musical instruments. It's like a whole song. It's not a whole song. It's a very short part of a song. It's like, it's not, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, that kind of thing. It's just either chorus or verse, and it just repeats itself. So, it's little short clips that loop. And, but it has all different instruments in it you can hear. And then it also has drums in the recording. But there's a button here you can push, and that'll turn the drums off. It'll mute the drums. So now the only drums that you hear are the drums that you're playing. And so you can listen to the drums that they have in here in the loop to hear what that drummer's doing. And then you can mimic them if you want. If you don't want to play that way that they're playing, then you can just turn their drums off and just have your drums on. So because everyone plays drums differently, two people are going to play the same way. And so basically that's it. I just I'm going to go ahead and set them up on my table down there. I've done it already and had it set up, and I've been playing them. I need to fix the hi-hat. I was just having it sit on the table and it wasn't working out too good. So what I did was I needed some kind of mount. And so what I did was, so if this is the hi-hat, it's the same thing. I went down to Target and bought this little bowl, plastic bowl, for 50 cents. And I replaced this piece with a shorter bolt because this is a little tall. And I want to be able to get the hi-hat at a certain height. And then once I get it figured out the height, it'll just stay at that height. And I won't need to adjust it. So I went ahead and this is the wing nut off of the cymbals, off of one of them. And I just got a stainless steel bolt here, so it hooks to it. And so now it goes, here's the hi-hat cymbal. So I just put this, bolt through the cymbal. And then I can put the wing nut on. Now, what I'm going to do, in one of my previous videos, if you've seen it, I removed a battery charger out of here that I didn't need anymore. It was in this cabinet behind me. And it had these rubber mounts on it. And so I saved them. So they're just neoprene rubber with a hole in them. So it's like a big washer, thick washer. And so what I think I'm going to use one of these, and it's going to go on the bottom here. Because this bottom, the way these things are designed, they're designed, if you notice, most cymbals, I mean, all real cymbals, the hole is in the center. And if you notice, the hole on these cymbals are in the back. Well, it's to make the cymbals lean towards you like this. And then it also has the module here for, I guess, the electronics, and for where the sensor's probably in here, and then also the plug, so you can plug the wire into it, the cable into here. So, and because the way this is designed, I'm thinking I'm going to want this a little thicker right here. So I got this rubber gasket. I'm just going to mount it on the bottom here. So this will go through here. And so what I'll do is I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom of this bowl. And I'm not going to drill it in the center because I want this to be kind of centered, because this hole's in the back. If I drill it in the center of the bowl, then it's going to be, the cymbal's going to be overhanging farther this way. But I want the bowl to be pretty much under this cymbal. So it's going to have to, my hand's kind of in the way. Let me put this wing nut on top here to hold it together so I can show you. So, well, I didn't get it. I didn't get it in there. But at any rate, so this bolt is going to, I'll probably put a washer on the bottom. I'm going to drill a hole in this, and then this is going to go I'm going to drill a hole back towards the back here on one edge, and then this bolt's going to go from inside up and out through the top. And so it'll be like this. And then this cymbal is going to sit on here like this with the rubber thing underneath here. And so it'll sit basically, just kind of set this on top so it'll look about right. So basically when I'm done with it, it should be about like that. And then what I'm going to do, because of the height, and I'm not sure, this, if anything, this is probably a little too high for me when it sits on the table. So if I want to lower it down, well, all I'm going to do, if I decide I want to lower it down and make it lower, because this really isn't going to be adjustable. I could make it probably adjustable, and I could probably come up with another way to do this. But once I get the height set for the table, it's going to stay the same. So, getting cramps in my hands here. So what I'll do if I want it set lower is I'm just going to take my Dremel tool and then just cut part of this bottom part of the bowl off. Just make it smaller so it sits down lower. So I'll do that if I need to, and I'll have to experiment with it to see how that works. So one more thing. My snare drum mount. My table in the main cabin is similar to this. It's wider, and it has what's called fiddles. And fiddles is a lip, a frame that goes around the table that keeps your plates and dishes, because sailboats heel over when you're sailing, plus you got waves and stuff you're going over. And so the tables normally and countertops all have fiddles, and it's just like if most tables are made out of wood of some kind, mainly on boats, especially older boats like this, made out of teak wood. And so you have a teak strip of wood that's just a thin piece of wood that goes around the tabletop. So your dishes and stuff won't slide off. So it sticks up about so high. And the table actually in my main cabin, I built myself. And actually, I didn't really build it. It's actually doors, companionway doors, like this here, these doors off my old boat. And there were French doors that opened up, like this. And each door had 3 square windows in it. And it's made out of teak, and real thick teak and holly, and then it's trimmed out with holly. And it had this rim around the table, and it was to seal it. So when you close the door, water wouldn't get in. And so that was made out of holly. And so it's a real light color wood. And then the teak's a darker color wood, and it's beautiful doors. And what I did was with my old boat, I did a previous video about, so you want to buy a sailboat, you might want to watch this first video. That's my previous video, 2 videos ago. And I talk about my older boat, and when I bought it and the problems that I ran into it, it was a wooden boat, which I wasn't going to buy a wood boat. And I kept telling myself, don't buy a wood boat. And I bought a wood boat because I fell in love with it. And it was fiberglassed over the outside, but it's still a wood boat. And it got dry rot. And it also got termites. And again, wood boats, just don't waste your time. And plus, there are a lot of maintenance and upkeep, and real expensive to own. It's real cheap to buy. That's the problem. They're so cheap. I mean, you can go out and buy them for a few $1,000s, big boats you can live on and even sail around the world. But yeah, you're going to be working your ass off working on that boat and maintaining it. And then, like I said in the other video, just because it didn't have dry rot when you bought it doesn't mean 3 months later you're not going to find dry rot somewhere on it. Dry rot can happen really fast. And so when I bought this boat, I had my other boat at the same time. I was paying rent on 2 slips for 2 boats, and I had to get rid of it. And I decided I'm not going to sell that boat to anybody. There's just no way I'm going to do that to anybody. There's no way. And so I decided I was going to scrap it, and that's what I did. And the state of California has this program where you can turn your boat in, and they'll scrap it for you, so it doesn't even cost you anything. So what I did was, it had a lot of great equipment on it. It had 7 Variant winches, bronze winches for cranking in the sails and controlling the sails. And this boat has the original winches from Formosa, and they're nowhere as good as those Variant winches. So I took all of the winches off of the other boat, and I'm going to put them on this boat eventually. Really nice Variant winches, very expensive, and so I just stripped the boat down to everything that was I thought I could use on this boat that was of good quality. And so I took those doors, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with those doors. I mean, they won't fit here, the doors, companionway doors here. And I'm thinking, what, I can cut them up and use the teak wood, but they're so beautiful, and the guy did such a good job. The previous boat I had was built by a cabinet maker, and he did a really good job. Well, the previous owner of this boat removed the table that's in the main cabin down there, just behind the camera where it's sitting right now. And so I didn't have a table in there. And it originally had a teak table that just folded up from, there's an engine box that the engine sits in, and there's a little table that folded up, and it kind of had these leaves that folded out, and it was kind of funky. I've seen videos on YouTube of other boats like this that have that table, and it's kind of funky. And so one day I was sitting there thinking about those doors, and I'm thinking, hey, I can make a table out of those doors, and that's what I did. The snare drum has to be lower than the table. The snare drum kind of like sits in your lap kind of thing. Well, I don't want it sitting in my lap because that's going to feel awful. Plus, I'm using my feet for the drum pedals, so my knees are going to be moving, so that ain't going to work. So I needed a way to connect the snare drum to the table, but have the snare drum down lower than the table. So using the same mount that the tom-toms are hooked together with, I used one of those, and I used some of the rack hardware, the aluminum tubing that comes with the rack that you set up, and I just happened to be able to fit all of these parts together and make my own unit out of the already pre-made parts for the drum rack that this comes with. And so I made this, and this is the rack that holds the snare drum. So these are all parts. I didn't have to cut any of these parts. I can reuse them. I can take this all apart and put the drum setup together how it was meant to be from the factory using the actual rack that it comes with. And so I didn't have to modify anything, but I made all of these parts go together. I figured it all out, and these are a couple of the mounts for cymbals and drums. And so the snare drum hooks onto here. And I can adjust it. I can adjust it in and out. I can adjust it side to side a little bit, but I really don't need to because I can slide this whole rack on the table. And so let's just tighten this down so it doesn't move on me. So the only thing I had to do, I bought 2 of these PVC elbows. And they're threaded kind, so they thread on. So this one's smaller, this one's a little bigger, they're 1/2 inch, and they thread. So I can turn them like this. And so what I do is this goes under the table like this, and then those fiddles on the lip of the table, once I push it on the table, so the drum's actually under the table, snare drum is under the table, then I just turn these down, and they hold on that fiddle part. So it holds it, and then this part sits up against the bottom of the table. So it's incredibly strong, and it works great. It doesn't move on me. It works. It's perfect. I got it right located in just the perfect spot. I can slide my knees underneath, so when I get up from the table, I can get up, and I don't have to move anything. The drums are all set there. I just sit down and slide over and pick up my drumsticks and start playing. I can get up. And then when I'm done, if I'm recording drums and I'm done with them, I can just take all this down and put it away. And so that's it. And so I'm really stoked about this. I think this is really cool. And the drums sound just incredible. They sound really good. And so maybe some of my future YouTube videos, you'll hear some of my original music, and I can start putting music in my videos. Of course, I can get copyright-free music online and put in my videos, but I haven't really got to that point where I need to put music in my videos. Sometimes if you're doing stuff with DIY and you're just sitting there painting or sanding, and a lot of people in YouTube videos will speed up the video so you're moving really fast so you can see what they're doing, and then of course you can't talk because you'll sound like a chipmunk because you sped the video up. The audio also will increase in speed. So what they do is they just play music while they speed. When the video sped up, they play music over that part. And so at any rate, so I'm excited about this, and hopefully start getting back into music a little bit, because it's just, my life's been kind of empty. There's been something missing, and I've been finally figured out what it is, and that's what it is. So at any rate, if you found this video helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.